Star Trek: The Next Generation was a show.
Star Trek: The Next Generation
everybody
was
I interacted with
a show that I started watching when I was a really little kid. Can you believe it's been 30 years? Star Trek: The Next Generation first.
Star Trek: The Next Generation was my life as a kid. It was the escape from reality.
Welcome to Next Generation's First Generation, where Patrick Delmore and Sascha Schaudies take a look back into their favorite childhood show, Star Trek: The Next Generation. This is where we attempt to reconcile how we felt as children watching the show and looking back as old farts now in our
Welcome back to
late
the 50th
30s,
episode of Next Generation's First Generation. And it is a true, or season 3 of Next Generation's First Generation, I should say. And it is a true milestone. Many podcasts cover Star Trek: The Next Generation. We thank you for sticking with us to one of the acknowledged best episodes, not only of this show, but of Star Trek in general. And that is yesterday's Enterprise. And boy, do we have a great group to talk about this today. To my right is Mr. Matt.
Hello.
To my left is regular co-host Sascha.
Ahoy, hoy.
And next to Sascha is Jem.
Sparkle, sparkle.
Yep. Who has never seen this episode before. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping it's going to be a treat for her. We have just come off, to understand the energy in the room, we've just come off recording the episode before this, which is a matter of perspective.
Oh.
And we're going to try and bring our minds away from that, although there are some remnants in character development in this which we might talk about. But without further ado, we will give the countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on our DVD here and engage.
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we gotta unmute the TV. Here we go. It's Worf. Oh, this is the thing. The prune juice.
What?
This is Worf's first drink of his favorite drink.
That's prune juice?
Yeah.
It'll make
classic,
you regular.
yeah.
Look at that face.
See?
It's delicious.
Warrior's drink.
A warrior's drink. It'll make me poop all the time on the field.
Honestly, from this point forward, Worf is much more relaxed about who he is.
Yeah.
So maybe it helped.
Was that a flirtation right there?
Yes.
Ah.
Guinan kind of flirts with everybody.
Yeah.
Oh.
Females are too fragile.
Hey.
Not all of them. There are a few on the ship that would find you.
A few females on the ship that would find you tame. Wow.
Impossible.
Oh, Worf.
Until you try.
Then I'll never know.
This reminds me of the movie that came out a few years before Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yeah, I still have never seen that. I know Jim Carrey's in it.
It's pretty bad. It's actually really bad.
Yeah. She's giving him prune juice, and she's dressed like a prune.
Wow.
She could be in a Fruit of the Loom commercial right now.
They found a mystery vortex outside the restaurant in space.
As the Red Dwarf crew would call it a weird swirly thing.
Dun 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 dun. It's cold outside. There's no kind of atmosphere.
Sensors are reading gravimetric fluctuations, Captain. Most unusual ones. Unusual in what way? Specify.
So they're trying to figure out what it is, and we're going to see this really nice transition of the set and the characters, and their placing between takes are actually pretty nice.
Yes.
Because everyone's still standing in the same positions, but you have different people standing in those positions. It's a very smooth transition.
Are you saying it is, and yet it isn't there?
Oh,
yeah,
thank
sit
you,
down,
Will.
Riker.
Analysis is in, Commander.
Stop browbeating the android there, mister.
Something's happening. A new change in sensor.
Nice spooky music.
My time on this episode is about to end.
Yep.
And here we go, Vortex. There's a ship coming out, and it
Dun
looks...
dun dun.
Lieutenant, what are their sensory?
Whoa, it's
Whoa!
Yar.
Yep.
Everyone's
But
mind
you're
is
supposed
blown.
to be dead. Whoa.
And look at that belt!
Yep.
And the blue lights! And the angry scowl.
What's funny is that
And guidance in blue.
I do remember watching this, and I really was not at 8 years old, and I was really not able to follow what was going on. I kind of had my dad had to, when he was telling his brother about how much he enjoyed the episode, kind of cleared my head on what exactly was going on. There was still a bunch of things I didn't get about it, because I didn't remember Tasha Yar at all.
Interesting.
Here's one of the more chilling lines from the series.
It's definitely a Federation ship, and they're going to read the registry.
Looks like they had a rough ride.
Ah, the ships look so different.
1701
C.
C.
What?
Because
That's
us.
well, they're D.
Oh,
So this is the previous ship.
okay.
So the joke is every ship after the original is A, B, C, D. How high did they get up?
There's an Enterprise G in one of the
Enterprise,
on
right?
the show Enterprise.
Yeah, it's during a time travel episode.
But the
too.
last model we saw was the Enterprise E.
Wow, so chilling. This is episode 15, season 3, directed by David Carson. The story is by Eric Stillwell and Trent Christopher Genio? I can't even say the names.
Ganyo.
Ganino.
He's in an
Ganino.
iron lung somewhere, and his kids are like, they're talking about your episode of the show.
Oh, jeez. But the cool thing is, the showrunner, Ira, was Ira the showrunner yet?
No, Ira was, I don't think, ever the showrunner.
No, he was for
Yeah.
DS9. But this is an Ira teleplay. Richard Manning, Hans Beimler, and then Ronald D. Moore. So you've got some big names on this episode, and I think it really reflects because this is a chilling episode to be sure. The music was done by Dennis McCarthy, and again, I have to give him credit because the music in this episode is spine-tingling.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really hear it clearly on the recording, but it is some good stuff.
High praise for not Rob Jones.
Yes,
I
I was
know.
going to say.
Well, you know, I've grown up a little, folks. This is
It's
we're
a
in
new
the
year, new me.
we're in the third year of recording this podcast. I've got to grow up.
That's nuts. We started in 2017, yeah.
So this came out February 19th, 1990. And, of course, we get to see our good friend Denise Crosby. And Whoopi. We haven't seen Whoopi in a long time.
Yeah, not in a minute.
Look at that beautiful battle damage. I mean, they spent a lot of time on these models. Nice close-up pan shot. This is the first time we see the Ambassador class. In a lot of video games that I play, I actually enjoy playing the Ambassador class the most because it's a very well-balanced ship. It's still kind of got that old retro feeling, but it's still powerful enough to hold its own. I'm talking about Star Trek Armada, the fan-based mod creation off of Stellaris, I believe is the name of the game.
So you're giving a little bit of a history.
Oh, Sins of the Solar Empire, yeah.
So
my
basically
bad.
they're telling us that this ship disappeared with all hands a number of years ago.
Possibility, Captain. If that hypothesis is
They're saying, is it time travel? And Data's like, maybe.
a rift, possibly the formation of a curlew from
So they're basically giving a science explanation to say that there's a lot of energy that created a rift, and the ship came through the rift. But if you notice, nobody's really talking about the changes. Because right now they're unaware that their universe have changed. And her hair just looks on fleek. Look at that.
That swoop in the front.
I mean, she's got so much gel in there, you could like pat it like a hat. It's
It's like a hair beret.
Yeah.
yeah. My hair is a hat.
I really like this. So the dynamic between Riker and Picard is very different in this, is that they are adversarial toward one another. He's like, I don't want you on this ship. Neither one of them wants to be on that ship together, but they have to because they're in a war situation.
Picard is very authoritarian. It's my way, but he's still conscientious of what's going on. As for Riker, you're saying he just wants to jump in and assert authority, and
Which he always did. But Picard's respect for Riker knows no bounds. Like,
But not
literally
here.
knows no bounds. It would be very hard for Riker in the regular timeline to upset Picard.
Stand by to receive emergency teams.
Unless he turns down a command.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stabilize their power system.
So the plan is they're going to go over to the Enterprise C, provide medical assistance, stabilize the ship, but do not talk about where you came from or who you are. And of course, who's going to screw it up? Dr. Crusher. This is the second time this season she screwed something up. Remember the bombing episode about 3 episodes back?
Right.
Yeah.
Where Worf says, we need to go, and she goes, no, these people need help. And then she was kidnapped. So, there we are there.
That's looking rough.
Yeah. They really need to stop inventing consoles that explode.
Now, was the Excelsior in Star Trek VI Ambassador class also, or?
No,
No,
it
that was
was
Excelsior class.
it was like a self-named class.
It was
Like-
first in its class.
Okay.
Makes me wonder why they didn't have a Starship Galaxy.
They do.
No kidding.
USS Galaxy is referred in Deep Space Nine during.
Nice.
Emergency teams are on board those ships.
I thought the Enterprise was the first.
The first one is always is named after its ship in its class. It's a naval tradition. And so Enterprise, the aircraft carrier Enterprise, was the Enterprise class. The Nimitz was the Nimitz class.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And so on. The reason the original Excelsior, they retconned it, but it's supposed to be the NX is the designated for the first in the class. That's why the Defiant has an NX rating. And originally in the movies it had the NCC rating, but then they retconned it when they reference it in the future as the NX 2000.
Well, that's the thing, is that people forget that they make a lot of this stuff up as they go along.
Yeah,
They're not really doing like a serious universe building. They leave that to the Okanas to do their books. And
I love how Geordi just scans this console, which is clearly on fire. And Riker and Geordi casually look at each other. He's like, so what's the prognosis? And Geordi just said, yep, it's on fire.
Well, according to these flames, the power reading over on this section is...
It's like those weather rocks. If it's wet, it's raining.
here's
If
our
it's
guy,
cold,
Christopher
it's
McDonald.
snowing.
If it's jumping around, there's an earthquake.
Yeah.
You know, even in this day and age, like in the 24th century, which I would still be very nervous about an open flame on a ship.
Right.
Yeah, especially because apparently all of the consoles are built so that open flames will shoot out of them if they bump anything.
But the view screen still works. It's a pretty clear image. Wow, look how dismissive Picard is. He's obviously paying attention to something else.
Because they've been at war for
Yeah.
so long. He's not Mr. Ambassador anymore. He's military commander Picard.
That's something I miss. Picard never does on the bridge that Kirk did all the time, is you get those duty reports and go over them and stuff, which you never see Picard do, except here in this episode.
That was probably strategic information. Wow.
Well, a ship's captain would always be getting status
Yeah.
reports and being department heads needing his permission to do this.
But he does that in his office. He doesn't do
Yeah.
it with his on
So,
the bridge.
so Guinan entered the bridge. She's looking around very disoriented. And she's the first one to call out that there's something wrong about the ship. I do have to apologize. I've been coughing lately. I've got a little frog in my throat.
I love that she still has carte blanche. You can just walk onto the bridge of an active military ship and walk right up to Picard and say, "We need to talk."
So there's our first clue. Something's very wrong. We've got hints of a war. There's a strategic map of Klingon and Starfleet insignia.
I remember I had no idea what to make of this when I was a kid. What that map was supposed to be. It was just just like a weird image.
It is pretty bizarre, but I think it's...
And I can tell what it is now. It's you can see the Klingons, you can see the Federation. They've continued to use those maps, but they've improved them as they've gone along. Look at what they look like in Discovery when they're in a war situation. You can see all the stars and stuff.
So Guinan's still holding on to her concept of what reality is. There should be families on the ship. We're not at war. It's a ship of peace.
I love that line.
We're a ship of peace?
Yeah.
That seems more like a mission statement rather than an actual reality. We're trying to become a ship of peace.
They're an exploratory vessel. Yes, they're the flagship, but their main goal is to find new civilizations. Now, I'm sure there's a chart somewhere of how many times they do seek out new life and find new civilizations on either of the main Star Trek shows. I think that, Voyager, by nature of being in a quadrant that had not been explored before, finds more new life and new civilizations than
Yeah, and they even referenced that as they said that before it was Kirk that held the record for it, but the fact that but it was then Voyager took that record and just blew it up with pretty much everybody they ever meet.
And here's our palette for Janeway as Rachel Garrett as the captain of the Enterprise C, who is a female captain with no commentary on her being female. Love that she's got the old style uniform.
Mm-hmm. I love those.
Not only that, she's captain of the flagship too, because the Enterprise has always been the flagship.
Interesting thing about this episode is that this episode was a fan-written episode. When the studio opened it up to submission scripts, and they received about 5,000 submissions a year for episodes. A lot of material for books, I'll tell you that.
This actually has the feel of a Star Trek book.
Yeah. I would have loved more of this timeline explored. They always want to do the alternate timeline, the one that was launched in the original series. But this is just such a fascinating timeline.
Looks like they didn't change sickbay at all, except for the light bulbs in the back. They're yellow lights.
And Matt, you may know what the official changeover between C disappearing and D being commissioned was.
C disappeared. It's talked about in Picard's autobiography. He even mentions seeing a status report that the Enterprise C disappeared.
Yeah.
And Picard is around he was there for the launch of the Enterprise C. And he was overseeing he makes comments that, the new Enterprise is going to be one of those ambassador classes, the most advanced in the fleet. And so the Enterprise C it was basically the prototype for the Galaxy class. They were trying out the new warp cores and all that stuff to see if they new components. And once the Ambassador class is proving successful is when they started working on the Enterprise D, the Galaxy class.
So we're in a conversation in sickbay where Captain Garrett and Captain Picard are processing the reality that they've been gone for about 75 years?
No, 22.
22 years, my bad. So Picard almost seems a little disgusted.
He wants to take this ship to help with the battle with the Klingons.
Correct.
She's like, no, we need to go back and rescue these Klingons. In the past, basically what happened was they were attacked by Romulans. And they died saving this Klingon outpost is the correct timeline.
Well, she doesn't know that yet.
Yeah.
Her thing is just thank you for saving us. Mm-hmm. We were getting our ass handed to us by Romulans.
Well, he just made the suggestion that had you succeeded in defending the outpost, that would have changed 20 years.
Yeah, it might have changed history.
Which is funny because, and they kind of touch on this, that the Klingons value death in battle as the highest honor you can do to yourself or anybody else. So the fact that they lost defending an enemy outpost is kind of what...
Yeah, they also reference the fact that the peace with the Klingons hadn't been finalized. Even though in Star Trek 6 they have the Kittimer Conference, the actual accords were not signed for like 30 or 40 years after that.
Yeah, that's what Curzon was working on all these years.
And so
there the two have met each other. They're talking about what's going on. The two are Yar and what's this guy's name
Castillo.
Again? Castillo, yeah, that's right. His hair is amazing.
They're hair buddies.
They're hair buddies.
They totally are.
Look at that.
22 years. It's nice to know that Federation hair gel hasn't changed.
It's like, check it out. I could light a match on it.
Well, with all those pyrotechnics on the bridge, you need some little fire retardant in your hair.
And she's like, you think that's cool that she just headbutts somebody and it cracks their skull with her hair?
Why, she's wearing a lot of makeup there. I didn't even realize that.
Well, they're trying to make her look... I don't know. I think they're trying to make her look a little bit younger than she was at this point.
Jem, are you aware of the story they came up with for Worf on Deep Space Nine, where he kill the kid by headbutting him when he was a little kid during a soccer game. Yeah.
Aw.
There's a high degree of
I do not like that at all. Does not work for me.
Now, what would happen if we had a dry sea?
On purpose?
No, I mean they headbutted on purpose, like as a yeah, we won,
Oh.
and then the kid died
That's terrible.
because Worf's skull was so thick.
Yeah, that was
I'm kind of okay with that because it would explain why Worf is always so just refuses to get close to people and not want to be around humans. It's just
he doesn't want to hurt
isolated.
them.
Yeah, because
But he's okay going into battle with them and training them up, but he does not want to spar with them directly.
he doesn't want to be close to them because it's one of those. He was raised to be comfortable around humans when he really should have been raised to. It's like raising a dog around cats or something. I guess it's inevitably the dog's going to at one point forget that it's not he's going to forget he's not human and do something like that, accidentally headbutt him or bite them or something.
I like the very, very busy corridors on the ship because of them being at war.
So the writers of the script were big fans of Mirror Mirror and City on the Edge of Forever.
Of course.
Yeah, so it kind of explains a lot of what's going on.
Minimal shields and the forward-facing things. Still no photon launchers or warp jet.
So we're getting a status update. Captain Garrett, and Castillo are basically militarying it up. We need more power. We need more weapons. We got to get ready for a fight. You're in charge. You got to talk to me while I'm stuck here in the medical bay. There's a doctor who says, hey, you're not healthy enough to go.
Yeah, like, she's been talking very well for being extremely injured, too.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like she had injury right directly to her gut. You shouldn't be able to talk that well.
Well, yeah, but again, 24th century medicine where they close a wound and do surgery in 5 seconds.
Yeah, this is just, it's a cliche moment right there. The doctor and the captain arguing about, you should be resting. No, I need to be fighting.
I need more.
It's really nice. I like to see Picard desperate.
Yeah.
Because he still has composure. But you can definitely know that he's kind of at his edge. And you see this kind of emotion in the movies, too.
Yes.
When he's fighting the Borg. He's like, I'm frustrated. I don't have any solutions. What do we do?
Well, because it's in his mind. He basically has to. He's weighing lives. I have to order or convince a whole ship of people to go back and basically commit suicide, or let them live and billions of other people die in their place. It's sacrificing one life for another, essentially.
Well, this is the conversation they're having here. The weight of 40 billion lives, or a weight of, 180, or how many were on there? It's the trolley argument.
Yeah.
If you pull the lever to save 5 or 2, and Jem and I were just watching the show The Good Place, that the solution would be to throw yourself sacrifice yourself so the trolley kills no one. And that's, they almost go there with this episode.
This timeline must not be allowed to continue.
So the Enterprise crew the D crew would sacrifice themselves to save the C crew, which saves everybody in turn.
Well, we're going to have a very different Guinan and Riker deal coming at the not in this episode, but on the season finale. It's going to be really interesting.
So here we've got the 2 security officers, Castillo and Tasha, just kind of nerding out over.
And this just really gets Guinan's hackles up.
Right? She just gives her this look like, what the hell? Can I help you?
Well, it's the whole I've just seen a ghost kind of.
Not even that. She's never met Tasha before. That's what she makes a big point of that.
They know each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a couple of TKLs when we're ready. Oh, this is Lieutenant Castillo.
That's a TKL.
Standard ration.
I don't know what it stands for, but they're military rations.
Okay.
Total caloric load.
Yeah.
If you spell calories with a K.
In Europe, you do.
She said I've never seen anything bother her before.
Which, you know,
there you
this...
go. What
this
does he hail?
KL.
Standard rations. Food replication.
so
Fine.
the story of Guinan actually...
That's SR.
Because she's so mysterious, you can do a lot with the character, and she has a lot more freedom outside the constraints of logic in a script.
Yes.
So because she's an unknown alien with an unknown age limit, and seemingly has Q-like powers, because you've seen her kind of do a defensive pose against Q. Remember that. She didn't do anything, but she obviously was...
She doesn't
ready to
have
do something.
Q-like powers.
But she was about to do something. I mean, holding her fingers up like that.
Well, I don't think she was going to zap him. I think she was just one of those... Maybe that's her species' way of giving him the finger.
Oh, there you
When
go.
we get to Generations, it'd be interesting to have a discussion about... I know in canon it is that she and Dr. Soren are the same species. I never thought that they were supposed to be the same species. I thought she was on a ship with him.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It never occurred to me until I read that in a book. That's like, oh yeah, Soren's the same race as Guinan. I'm like, okay.
I don't buy it.
There's nothing in that other than that they were
They
on
mentioned
the same ship.
mentioned it in season 5 or 6 when they Time Zero,
Based on Guinan.
and they mentioned her species, the Olorans. That's the name of her species, and then they mention it in Generations. They don't mention they don't say it again, but they say that Dr. Soren was an Oloran. So they do reference that they're the same species.
They had that Connorist Elorian in Deep Space Nine. He tried to put Quark out of business.
Yeah, and they had that in Deep Space Nine. I mean, so there are members of they're ultra perceptive people.
Perhaps her species has a perception that goes beyond.
Oh, look at that. Perception that goes
Yeah,
beyond
it's like a
linear time.
useful version of Deanna Troi.
But I guess what I was trying to say, we kind of got off topic, is with the mysterious magic quote-unquote creature, they're not confined to the same constraints as everybody else, because everybody else has a very firm set of rules, what they can and can't do.
Dismissed. Sir, if you'd like my opinion. I think I'm aware of your opinion.
Yeah.
This is a briefing. I'm not seeking your consent.
I can't wait to use that line at work.
This is a briefing. I'm not asking for your consent.
Not necessarily meaningless.
And the meeting continues, so Picard clearly said, I'm done talking about this, but
And then they keep talking.
It'd be funny if he just looks up and goes, "Oh, what? You're all still here?
get out of here before I phaser you out.
Well,
That's one of you has my tea."
Picard could... Here's the thing, is like, Picard could die at any minute in this scenario, and Riker is going to be the new captain. So, it's to Data and Geordi's credit that they want to keep Riker happy as they want to keep Picard.
Now, the other thing is it makes no sense that all of these guys are still on the Enterprise in this era, in this timeline. If you're at war, you would have so many, and they even talk about such loss of ships. All of these guys, Geordi, Data, and Riker, would have their own ship.
You think they'd already be in command?
They'd already be in command, definitely. Riker would, they would all, not just be like commanders with it, they'd all be full captains.
Is it me, or is that phaser a little too high on her waist there? It's
I don't know.
practically jumping into her chest. But look at see compared to Data's there. Is this really low? Huh.
Possible. Depends where they're comfortable grabbing it.
Or they
from.
just really wanted it in the shot.
I guess I could just be where they velcroed it on there. I mean,
Watching this episode as a kid, the whole time I just thought spooky. You know, the reveal of you're in the future and now you got to go back. And
I always this episode always made me wish that she had never left the show, because I think she's a much stronger character.
oh yeah,
But again, you were 10 and I was 8. I really had no idea what was going on. I was so bored.
we missed a really important conversation between Data and Yar, where Yar's just kind of kicking around. So, what happens if they go back? Is it going to change the course of events? And Data just bluntly said, we may never know. We probably will never remember that this event happened because it changed history.
Unless you somehow get pregnant.
I'm interested I would be much more excited to see Guinan turn up on Picard than I would to see Q turn up on the Picard show, which will have premiered several weeks ago by the time you hear this episode. So.
Oh, yes. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm sure I loved it.
Yeah.
So Captain Garrett is now suggesting that the Enterprise go back in time with her to go after the Romulans, which kind of plays into the narrative, the long-standing narrative that Romulans want to destabilize the power in the quadrant.
Well, no, what she just said was, we thought about going back, but I told them we're staying here, and we're going to fight the Klingons.
Oh,
that's
my mistake.
literally what she just said.
I just missed it, sorry. Oh, here's the reveal.
Yeah,
Another
this is the
spooky
thing.
moment. Picard says, we're probably gonna lose this war within 6 months, and we're gonna have to surrender. And you know, for him saying that, knowing the Klingons, that's his death sentence. He's only got 6 months to live.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he surrenders, the Klingons are gonna round up all the senior leadership and execute them.
They did a comic series called The Myriad Universe that was loosely based off of this. It was, although it goes all the way back to the Star Trek VI, and it's Kirk fails to stop the assassination of the Federation president, and so the Federation descends into war with the Klingons. The Klingons just go to war, and by the Next Generation era, they've obliterated the Federation. And Worf is the gov, because his family was a high-ranking member of the council, is military governor of Earth. Now, Picard and the rest of the Next Generation era people, Janeway and Sisko, are all resistance fighters.
Oh, interesting. You know, you remember that episode where multiple Enterprises entered the same plane of reality because Worf became a multi-dimensional being?
Worf went on vacation.
Yeah. How cool would it have been if this Enterprise came back in that universe and helped out?
Well, but it wasn't different Enterprise. It was just all different Enterprise Ds, not...
I like this idea that the Admiral class had that much more maneuverability than the Galaxy, too. Because the Galaxy looks like it would have more maneuverability. It's got kind of that flexible flyer at the back.
True, but it's such a big ship.
Yeah, if you think about it, an aircraft carrier having more power than a small destroyer, or like that, but then the smaller boat, you know.
Oh, action! They hop right into the consoles. So, they're under attack. The sea is under attack. And Tasha and Castile are at the command of the helm.
She's so tired.
Yeah, right?
You watch Doctor Who, right?
Yes, I do.
Doesn't she look tired to you?
Oh, no. That's funny. So this is one of the more exciting action sequences that we've seen so far. It's a multi-ship battle, which I don't believe we've really... No, we touched it briefly in that War Games episode. And then we have the mystery rocks on a spaceship, which I never understood.
Where's Castillo's rock collection? All tumbled out.
The worst possible day you could have brought that to the bridge, guy.
It's all cried. She was like, "Don't leave him behind my chair. Something bad could happen.
Oh.
I was gonna move him."
He's got a rock to the head.
It's not even a rock. It looks like a saw blade or something.
Saw blade, yeah. So there we go. Now they've got to figure out what to do next.
I'm prepared to lead the Enterprise back myself. Sir, Lieutenant Castillo is the last surviving.
I love how they don't respect him at all. Like, you're done making decisions. We're gonna make.
It's like it's on Picard to give him a battlefield promotion right now, and he's not even doing that.
I can't speak to that point, sir.
I think he would have made a really good captain. I think he would have fit in really well with this crew, to tell you the truth. This actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Not
no,
even
he's
as
a
a
strong
captain.
actor.
He would have gone back. What should have happened is he should have gone into the room to make that speech, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, you're the you're the captain of the Enterprise. I'm bestowing that on you."
I could also see him play a fighter wing division captain. I know that Star Trek really doesn't have that. I mean, they talk about having fighters in some of the larger battles, but you never really see the function or whatnot. I could peg that guy as like a commander of the air wing or something.
Yeah,
like
one
that.
day when Paris becomes an admiral, he'll make a fighter wing group.
There we go.
Well, they have them. You just don't see them because they're used for when they invade planets for atmospheric things. The Bajorans used atmospheric fighters.
Yeah, and they talked about it in Sacrifice of Angels.
Yeah, too. They have them. The two that they reference. You never see them. I think you only see them once on camera. The Paragon and the Valkyrie class.
Huh, oh, really? Okay.
And they have a carrier class. The two carriers they have are the Typhoon class ship and the Akari class are considered carrier vessels, and they carry large fighter shuttle complements.
Mm-hmm. So there's the kiss goodbye. Tasha is saying goodbye to Castile a second time. Yeah, this is the first goodbye was
goodbye
just before the attack.
Yeah,
and now this is a second goodbye.
This goodbye was a lot friendlier.
Mm-hmm. So now she's got a gut feeling that, I'm in love with this person, and I don't understand what pulled Tasha to Guinan.
Because of that look that Guinan kept giving her.
What happens to me in the other timeline?
Oh, there we go. She's doing the hard press to Guinan, like, what happens to me in the other timeline? What's going on?
Yeah, because in this timeline, she knows Guinan as well as the other crew, so she's like, I know Guinan knows a lot of shit that she's not telling everybody.
You can see it on her face. She doesn't want to talk about it.
I love that.
We weren't meant to
know each other at all.
How would you feel if you
got greedy and refused to renegotiate your contract?
How would you feel if you and I just went out to beer sometime, Pat, and I just told you, I should have died 10 years ago and we should have never met? Wouldn't that just be weird?
As somebody that's unfortunately had that conversation with a mentally ill person,
whoa,
it's not fun.
It's not fun?
No.
How did you handle that?
Very delicately.
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, Star Trek is all about messing with your perception of reality. That's what any good drama does.
Captain, I request a transfer to the NIC.
Are you crazy? Look at that.
He's got that bitch, please.
They need someone tactical.
We need you here.
I'm not supposed to be yours.
Oh, Guinan
right,
keeps
you're
on,
supposed to be on the bridge doing your job.
Guinan keeps on handing out the free passes to people.
I know.
So this is where Tasha's got to explain that she's supposed to be dead.
She said to you.
I don't belong here.
Did we ever meet Tasha's child?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Several
times.
Because spoiling it for Jem here.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, for some reason I thought
Spoilers!
Sorry. I thought that was Tasha for some reason.
No, we're not going to talk about it anymore now. Suddenly Jem comes alive. What?
Oh, well.
Hopefully. We'll continue for a long while.
For a person who knows so much about Star Trek, I know so little at the same time.
Yeah, he had kind of a... That's the thing, is it's like, it wouldn't have been fun to watch the Picard Tasha relationship progress. I mean, I know the show was in kind of a bumpy place when it started, but they had a very much of a she kind of got oh daddy around him all the time, and it just was not nice.
Yeah, that's right. When she was in the penalty box, do you remember? Yeah. But she's not that way here.
No.
She's very much a stronger, more independent person.
But if you think about it, this is now 3 years later.
Yeah.
And 3 war years, so battle-hardened years.
Mm-hmm.
I think she would have grown out of it. I think she would have been one of those. It would have been one of those, like Picard, almost like Picard. Start out like a Picard and Wesley thing, but I'm very proud of the person you've become. Mm-hmm. And then it would be almost like what will happen with Ensign Ro. Would be one of those. She'll strive to never disappoint him, but eventually, and if I wrote the show, it'd be at a point where she does that. Yeah. She makes a decision to go against his wishes. In something, or does something like that, and that's the big downside. Is that her greatest thing is not dying, but disappointing him.
What was your reaction there, Jem?
Oh, I'd like to die for a purpose. I'd like to die for a reason, and Captain Ghost permission granted.
Yeah.
Well, you can't blame her. Would you rather die doing something or just be erased from existence?
Right, but that was just a very meaningful line that
Yeah.
that the captain said.
Well, meaning is really important to people. I think that's one of the reasons why we're so afraid of death. It's because we're faced with our own reality and everything that's happened up until that point. So, looking at this Tasha Yar and what you were saying about Battle Hardened, Matt, they should have opened the series with this version of Tasha Yar, and she would have been much more successful as a character.
They weren't ready for it yet. They really had no idea what they were doing in season 1.
What they needed is they couldn't have her and Worf, because what's the point of Worf?
Yeah.
You're going to have Mr. Klingon. It would be like having like Mr. T be the ship's helm. It would be like you're going to be expecting the Klingon to be the big battle tough guy thing.
Again, I was sorry that he didn't immediately give her a battlefield promotion also when she came on the ship. I mean, it would be like, you know, the movie Starship Troopers, where they hand out promotions like handshakes and demotions like handshakes too, because the war is so serious.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Yeah,
and they can do that, and they do that in our thing. Basically, he'd be the acting captain, and she'd be the acting first officer. And it's basically, you have that authority until somebody higher than me takes it away from you.
You know where they did do that in Star Trek is when they ran across the Red Squad Defiant.
Exactly. The captain made the cadet the acting captain and gave him power to promote until somebody higher up comes in and says, now I'm in charge. Y'all go back to what you were doing.
Yeah.
And that's usually how it works.
Pasting. What an interesting word.
I like that
gave them a
expression.
pasting.
Yeah.
As you know, we could outrun the Klingon vessels, but we must protect.
There's the pep talk for the battle. Do your jobs.
Oh,
We will succeed.
great line.
We must succeed.
History never forgets the name Enterprise.
Enterprise.
Beautiful.
Got out.
I'm getting all tingly right now
Yeah.
just watching it. I can feel like the adrenaline pumping. 3 warbirds pounding on the Enterprise.
They
Look at
said there
that.
were 4.
Oh, did they say there were 4?
Yeah.
I only saw 3.
That's what.
So it's like Wesley obviously got a battlefield promotion. He's got a pip on his collar.
Well, they would have accelerated his academy
Yeah.
experience. They probably would have reduced the academy to, well, we're really not going to give you a lot of science. It's going to be military tactic and command. And you can worry about your biology classes at a different time.
Right. And well, everything's hyper-focused to defend.
Minor damage to secondary.
They talk about that in Deep Space Nine, too, when they talk about the Warriors. They said they started building ships, and they were just leaving out all of the science, the life science and exploratory components, just because they wanted to. They said, what's the point of powering this? So you had whole classes of ships that were originally designed for this, and now just all we're doing is building a skeleton ship with weapons. Weapons and food, basically, on it. And
How do you guys feel about tactical conversations on the bridge? Turn to course, mark 1332.
It goes back to, the old submarine movies and stuff. You have everybody's at a station and moving stuff. I mean, the problem is that the helm on this show is basically mumbo jumbo click clacks. Not,
it's me pawing at a screen.
Yeah.
It's not.
But it's because of stuff like this that I can watch, any submarine movie or really any movie that's based in the Navy and feel like I'm watching a Star Trek.
In the Navy.
And vice versa, too.
Yes.
It's people who are from that era, because the reason they would do that is the captain would say an order and the other person would repeat it verbally to make sure it was received correctly. Because usually you'd have shit blowing up, loud noises, and you want to make sure, especially courses, are received correctly.
Right. So the Enterprise is getting a hammering. We saw a great action shot with Geordi there, which I'm glad they incorporated something with him in there. In fact, LeVar Burton refers to this scene when he visits the Enterprise on Reading Rainbow.
No, he doesn't. That was a long time before this.
That was a long time before? I could have swore that scene
that was
in
in
there.
season 1.
Huh, really?
Because when you see Worf, he's in his red uniform with the gold sash. And
my bad.
Yeah.
Ah, boy, my
It had
memory.
just come on. They didn't. I mean, he talks about the warp core a lot. Or no, he just does the Enterprise. Doesn't do the warp core.
All right, now I got to fact.
He wasn't even an engineer at that point. He was the helmsman.
I got to fact check that because I just my feels are in conflicting.
Yeah, take a
conflict
look.
with
Take a
my
look.
memory.
No, he was. This was before he was the chief engineer. When he was he was at helm.
So here we go. We only have to live 52 more seconds. That's how tight this battle is. So the ship is crippled. Control's not responding.
Now in a war situation, wouldn't whatever ship Data was on be one that they would want to board and get Data off that ship?
Oh, look at that. Riker's down with the same rock collection.
Yeah. Love it.
So here's Picard.
Well, and if it were me, tactically, I would never deploy Data in a war. I would have him at Starfleet Command, running things.
Statistician.
Basically, in the war room. Move ships over here. Don't move. Basically doing that.
Yeah, he's more valuable than any computer memory core.
Yeah,
That's not intimidating at all.
Yeah, right?
but it is. But that's the thing, and they even talk about that in that comic in the Myriad universe. Is the Klingons had captured Data, and they basically have him on the moon, hooked up to a giant computer.
Whoa. So the Enterprise went back into the rift. And we see a normal shot of Picard. They look over his shoulder. There's Worf. Everything's back to normal.
And Riker and Picard are in step. They're like moving in tandem.
Well, Guinan doing a service call to the bridge.
Yeah. Tell Worf he still owes me for the prune juice.
Oh, I tell you, this next line is great. Where she sits down with Geordi and says, "Hey, tell me about Tasha."
Yeah.
It's almost paying. It's paying service to her. It's paying respect.
She died a meaningless death, and this is her way to die at one that mattered.
Giving a very inquisitive look. Geordi's got a lot of good facial expressions.
LeVar Burton's a good actor.
Yeah.
He really.
So, do you think does Guinan have? Has she heard people talk about Tasha before, or does she remember that? Because I would assume that that unless there's a public memorial for Tasha on the ship, that the duty roster for the flagship and the Enterprise is classified. That wouldn't be something she'd be able to know. Yeah.
No.
The active duty roster would probably be classified.
Okay.
But the fact that she died, they usually release the names of people who died in service.
So I look at it from another point of view. At my job, we recently had a colleague who died on our team back in September. It was very traumatic for everybody on board. We brought on a new member of the team maybe about 2 months ago, and I've never talked to this new member of the team about the previous member who died, even though they were part of the family. And it's not because I was hiding anything, it's just, it's not in the here and now. So when Guinan came on board, probably nobody ever just talked about Tasha because they're moving on with their lives.
No, I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
No?
She talks to everybody about everything.
And a ship like that, because I've been on plenty of ships, they will have a small memorial, usually in somewhere like 10 forward, dedicated to those who died in service to the ship. They'll have their photo and their service dates on there, and maybe one or two mementos that somebody had, almost like a shrine, and it'll be for all the service people who have died, or you'll have it in a somewhere public area there.
It's like Lost in Space in the reboot where they have the Hall of Heroes. I don't know if you've seen that.
I am looking forward to finally sitting down and watching all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've heard nothing but good things.
But yeah, they would have something there. And then all of the people of the crew would have talked about, because it wasn't just, Ensign Ricky. This was a member of the senior staff. This was the chief of security who died.
Yeah.
It was a big thing. And it troubled Picard, too. And Picard being so close with Guinan, he would have... Because Guinan, in a lot of ways, was more the ship's counselor than Deanna Troi.
Absolutely.
And that's why I said is if you needed to eliminate a character, I hate to say it, I would have eliminated Deanna, because Guinan plays the role a lot better. And she's not... And if you're going to have somebody in a non-Starfleet capacity or a non-Starfleet uniform, Guinan makes sense. And it would be one of those, I'm here just to keep the mental health of people. And that would explain why Picard's allowed to have her on a starship, the flagship. Well, it's good to have someone to talk to, Well, we have a ship's counselor, but all she seems to do is get mind raped by every alien species out there.
Yeah.
And take care of the babies.
Yeah,
which would not work would not work for Guinan to have had that role with Alexander.
No, and it wouldn't have. No, it would.
So Matt, I'm really interested. You're probably the most naval military oriented person here in the room. How did you feel about this episode? Because this definitely was a military conflict episode.
They got the military stuff pretty much correct. I mean, that's the way the ship would look. Minimal power. You're not wasting energy, because you don't have as many. If you've lost a lot of outposts, it's kind of like if you look back at World War II, ships were running on, you didn't have as many, resources weren't as abundant and stuff like that, and you had ships that were out, long range ships that didn't have a port they could necessarily go into, so you didn't know when you're going to be able to replenish. I do find it weird that the Enterprise is out just wandering around by itself. It's because, like Patrick said, it's not a very maneuverable ship.
It should be part of like a carrier group.
It would be it would be a carrier group. Picard would not be a captain. He would at least be fleet captain or admiral. Most likely an admiral at this point, because if you've been at war for 20-something years, he would not be captain Picard. He would be an admiral, and he'd be in charge of a whole.
It would be interesting to see how to do a rundown of why everybody was there, because you could come up with feasible excuses, and I like the idea that Riker is Riker in any universe, and he doesn't want to move. He doesn't want to move up to captain, and Picard goes to bat for him, much to his folly, because it pulls them both back, and they're kind of in a fight over it. Because they were not getting along in that universe.
No, not at all. So, ratings, how do we feel about this?
Well, Joe, I haven't heard a lot from Jem.
Oh, well. It's an episode that I don't like for my reasons why I don't usually like something. Like, I'm not a huge war person. I don't like, watching violence and all of that. So it was a very militaristic episode. But I liked the whole timeline. I liked Guinan and Tasha and, tell me about this person. And I like how Tasha was given basically a second chance to die an honorable death. So that was really interesting. But as far as the stuff that I personally like about Star Trek, or I found to personally like about Star Trek, there wasn't a whole lot in there. So maybe like a 2. Better than the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
But not super high rankings for me.
Well, what is our ranking scale for this? How many TKLs?
Yeah.
1 out of 5 mysterious drinks that we don't know what the acronym stands for.
Yeah. I would have to give it, for me, I'd probably have to give it a 4 out of 5 TKLs. Because I loved the battles then. I love the battles now. I liked how the episode made me feel. It's chilly. It's full of adrenaline. It plays with the timeline of the what ifs. It always... I like space conflict. Yeah. I'm drawn to that. Which is funny that I'm not much more of a Star Wars fan, because that's all it is.
Yeah.
But for me, it played really well with my sense of action adventure as a kid, and it still sustains that. When I watch episodes like this, it makes me want to play video games.
That's exactly why I did not like it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a freaking video game.
Yeah, so... You nailed it. That's probably why I play like 20 hours of video games a week. It's just because I get so excited when I see it on the screen. I'm like, I could do that. So anyway, that's 4 out of 5 for me.
I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 because I can remember it from when I was 8, even though it didn't make sense to me. I remember, my dad talking about it, so it's kind of always there. I saw it again when I was 12, and it did make sense then. Like just that part. The Enterprise is dark suddenly. Guinan says, this is not a ship of war, it's a ship of peace. Was kind of, stamped on my brain. And then seeing it again and being like, oh, this is what's going on. So it just kind of indelibly marking itself there. And as we spoiled for Jim, it's setting up more things. Stuff's going to come from this.
Apparently Tasha has a kid.
Oh, it sets up at least about 5 or so more episodes of weird.
Okay.
It's great.
It makes me wonder, in those episodes where more stuff is revealed, if I look back on this episode and say, okay, I like it even more because it did reveal or set up these other episodes.
I think it justified the existence of those episodes. It's like, by the way, this event happened which allowed us to do these
I
these
like the fact that they'll go ahead and do that because it shows that they're not just doing one-off episodes, which is what I always like when they find a way to close loops on stuff, which Star Trek very rarely does.
Well,
is revisit things.
Next Generation was on the cusp of a change in how you wrote for television. Television before Next Generation, with the exception of a few episodes, it's a one and done. The reset button gets hit at the end of the episode. You can watch them out of order, the episodes out of order, and still, know what's going on, and you're not lost and confused.
Yeah, we're at the 30th anniversary of the premiere of Twin Peaks.
Oh,
it
there
was
we
the
go.
first true primetime soap opera
And
that built on itself.
And now, like with Twin Peaks, you have to watch it in order, or you're going to be disoriented in what's going on. The idea is to enjoy the breadth of the experience.
They're really with, all these people have seen Picard now, and of course you probably have now listening to us. But there's been a huge push of Patrick Stewart being like, this is not, other than that the characters are there, stylistically we're not continuing the Next Generation. Don't expect that.
It's a new
If you
story.
want to watch it, that's not what he said, but I will say it. If you want to watch a show that is pretty much the Next Generation, watch The Orville.
I'm going to give this 4 out of 5. No, I like it. It sets up future things. The fact that they did a fan episode. I think it's I think it just almost kind of embarrasses some of the writers that they have, that you have a fan who can write a much better episode than some of especially with the preceding episode being the way it was, and then you have a fan come in and write so well and understand characters so well. I agree with Pat. I would have loved to have seen where that universe went.
Yeah,
and
then
know
so much fun.
or even more know the backstory of that universe a lot more. And that they could, it would have been nice to revisit that.
Having them changed the opening credits like they did on Enterprise when they did the Mirror Universe.
Exactly. If they'd opened, there's so much they could have done with that and revisited it. They wrote some books about it called The Lost Era, and so they wrote it's everything from Enterprise B through C, their adventures and stuff like that, up to the destruction of the Enterprise C. It would have been interesting with Picard because Picard was around when that happened. So it would have been interesting to see his reaction to stuff. The Stargazer predates the Enterprise C.
That's right, that's an old ship.
Yeah, so the Stargazer is a generation before the Enterprise C. So he was a captain already when the Enterprise C was around. And in his book, he was close to being given the Enterprise C originally in the autobiography, but he didn't get it. He was working for the Admiral. So it would have been interesting to it was one of those. It's quite possible they didn't reveal it in here because this is all written before this was done, but that Picard probably knew Captain Garrett or had known of her. Just like I'm kind of certain that Captain Garrett would have known of Picard.
Yeah, that would have been really neat if they recognized each other. Like, wait, didn't we go
Picard of the Stargazer?
Didn't we go to the academy together or
something like that? Oh, yeah, it would have been like, are you Picard of because the Stargazer incident was already famous.
Yeah, well, Garrett, she looked, how old would you say, mid-40s?
Yeah,
maybe?
probably the same age. Probably the same age as
add 22
Picard.
Years to that, so that would put her in her 60s. So actually, she'd be just slightly older than Picard. So if anything, she would be in Picard's seniors. Like, I remember hearing about you winning that race in the academy.
Yeah, Picard is 46 or 47 in these. So.
Oh my gosh, he looks so old.
I know.
Like watching this, I put him in his 50s, but no.
He was.
Yeah, he would have. But yeah, she would have heard of him doing. Oh, so you're the lieutenant that took command of the Stargazer or something, and did that incident or just something. She would have. They would have referenced it, and in her being captain of the flagship, he would have. It's like everybody knows Picard nowadays. He's a famous. She would have been a famous captain of her day for doing that. Probably one of the first female captains to command a capital ship.
That might have watered down the dialogue.
It might have watered it down, but that's why I said if you had an expanded on this, if you would,
it would have made a good book.
Yeah,
or
a good book,
like a miniseries movie.
And if they'd done like I said, if I would have done this, like this would have been a great Star Trek, the style that they're doing Discovery. If you did it nowadays as a miniseries, like a 5 or 6 episode miniseries,
exactly. Oh, kind of like what Enterprise did with the genetic engineered guys. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but I would do it like style is we're gonna take the Enterprise C era, and the last episode ends with them going in the rift.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
If you were to do that, basically that's just you just do that episode and they're in the battle, and all of a sudden there's the flash or the cloud, and then the next thing and then the very end of the series of the season would basically be from the other perspective is they're coming out and you see the Enterprise D just floating in space in front of them, and then you cut the credits.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because if you've seen Discovery, they do similar things like like they did with the Enterprise. He's basically one of those. That's at the end of season 2 or the end of season 1, is you just see it there and it's just you leave it to that. I mean,
well, I think this is a good review.
Yeah,
we liked it.
It's one of my favorite episodes.
It's in the top 10 for me.
It's a milestone. We hit a milestone by getting to this one.
With that being said, we'd like to thank you for listening, and make sure to check out some of our archived episodes of the Shore Leave series. We're very proud of several movie reviews, such as All Dogs Go to Heaven, Land Before Time. I think we also did the Back to the Future, didn't we?
Second one, yep.
Yeah.
We'll be doing the third one this year.
So, with that, I'd like to say, have a wonderful day.
Why am I interviewing you guys?
So, you're the guest.
So, Sasha, what's
So-
Star Trek
Hi,
Next
I am
Generation?
the guest.
So, Sasha, what is Star Trek Next Generation?
Seek us out at Next Generation's First Generation at iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Music credits include Electric Car by Poddington Bear, Broke for Free, As Colorful as Ever, Drops of H2O by Jay Ling. Audio engineering by Sascha Shouties. Chief Meme Maker and episode cover credit goes to Matthew Kirschner. Logo and graphic art design credit goes to David Clawwitter. And special thanks to Patrick Delmore for working with other podcasts to make sure the good word gets out.
Do you have a podcast that you think people should be listening to? Send us your promos and we'll play them on the show. If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sascha Shouties. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Good night.